Thousands of years before the United States existed, the first people to settle the American continent migrated from Eurasia. They crossed a harsh, frozen land bridge known as Beringia during the Ice Age, forming complex civilizations long before anyone else arrived. By the 15th century, European explorers landed in the Americas and quickly carved the continent into rival colonial territories. Spain built an empire in the south, France claimed the eastern interior, and Britain focused on the coastline. Down on the eastern seaboard, English colonists settled quickly. Supported by tobacco, the 13 colonies expanded fast, taking in a heavy flow of immigrants. But surrounded by French and Spanish powers, they relied heavily on the British military for their survival. The 13 colonies functioned as a heavily dependent arm of the British Empire, serving as a strategic buffer in the power struggles between European monarchs. That rivalry eventually exploded into the French and Indian War. British forces managed to beat the French and secure vast new territories, but the victory was incredibly costly, leaving the British Empire financially exhausted. To recoup those staggering war debts, the British Parliament decided to impose direct taxes on the colonies. Under laws like the Stamp Act of 1765, colonists were forced to pay up without having a single elected representative sitting in London to vote on the matter. The colonists refused to pay. To protest a new tax on tea, they dumped British cargo into Boston Harbor. Parliament retaliated with the Coercive Acts, stripping Massachusetts of its right to self-government and placing the town under strict army rule. The financial fallout of one war ignited the rebellion of the next. When the British Army cracked down on the colonies, the argument over taxation quickly warped into a violent fight for independence. Guided by the intense organization of George Washington and a critical military alliance with France, the 13 colonies actually won the Revolutionary War. By 1783, their independence was officially recognized by the global powers. This chart shows the immense landmass acquired in 1803. President Thomas Jefferson bought this entire block of land from France for a fraction of its value, which instantly doubled the physical size of the United States. The government kept pushing west. By the mid-19th century, the United States annexed Texas and aggressively captured even more land after defeating the Mexican Empire in battle. This victory over the British immediately shifted the national focus toward westward expansion. As the borders stretched across the continent, the government faced a growing challenge: how to maintain a single legal system over such a massive, diverse landscape. As the nation swallowed up new territory, the deeply rooted crisis of Black enslavement reached a violent breaking point. The debate over whether these new Western lands would rely on enslaved labor completely fractured the country into heavily opposed factions. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president on a platform supporting a ban on slavery in all new territories. In response, several Southern states immediately seceded to form the Confederacy. War broke out in April 1861. After 4 years of brutal, exhausting internal combat, the Union achieved victory, defeated the secessionist forces, and permanently banned slavery nationwide. To heal the deep physical and economic wounds of the Civil War, the national government heavily expanded its own power. That centralized authority provided the exact framework the country needed to support an explosive industrial boom over the next few decades. Backed by heavily growing industries, the United States stepped onto the global stage. In 1898, American forces quickly won the Spanish-American War, claiming overseas territories like the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. Joining the Allies in the First World War, the American economy surged in the aftermath. But that massive momentum was completely derailed by the devastating global financial shock of the Great Depression in 1929. Then, on December 7, 1941, the massive Japanese empire suddenly attacked Pearl Harbor. The United States was instantly thrust into a massive two-front conflict, fighting island by island across the Pacific while simultaneously pushing into Europe. The war concluded in 1945 after the United States dropped atomic weapons on Japan. With the old European empires effectively destroyed by years of combat, America was left standing as one of only 2 remaining global superpowers. The post-war era was entirely defined by the Cold War. To stop the spread of communism, the U.S. confronted the Soviet Union indirectly through a heavy arms race and brutal proxy wars in Korea and Vietnam. While the government fought for ideological influence abroad, marginalized citizens fought their own battles at home. The civil rights movements of the 1960s forced the nation to finally address the voting rights and freedoms it had originally promised. The long standoff of the Cold War eventually concluded with the collapse of the Soviet Union, leaving the United States as the dominant superpower. But that period of relative calm was shattered in 2001. The September 11th attacks carried out by al-Qaeda violently pivoted American foreign policy. The military plunged straight into the war on terror, engaging in prolonged modern ground conflicts across Iraq and Afghanistan. The nation's current international influence was never a historical certainty. Instead, its borders, its centralized government, and its military reach were built piece by piece through 2 centuries of continuous, defining conflict.